Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about my hitch. I think I tried to do a little bit of video on it, but I was rushed. We were about to go for a bike ride, so I didn't really dive into the hitch video. As you can see, I have a Grand Design Reflection 315 RLTS. That means rear living triple slide. It's 39 feet long. It's long for a bumper pull. It weighs 9,600 dry, and it's right at 11,000 full. Maybe just a little bit under 11,000. Before this trailer, we had a Winnebago, one of the mini. It was 26. I'm trying to think of the number it was. It was like DKS, dual kitchen slide. It was a nice trailer, but we just wasn't big enough. When we have nieces and nephews with us, my hitch, I guess, journey, because I guess it is a journey when you go to getting into this world and looking for the right hitch. I started out, I bought that Winnebago used. It was a great unit, great trailer, great rig, whatever you want to call it. And the guy that sold it to me had the load leveling hitch, and it was one of the cheaper ones. I can't remember what brand it was. It was a cheaper one, but it worked great. That trailer was lighter. It was like 7,000 pounds loaded, but had no issues. And at that point, I was pulling it with a Tundra, and it was a 2020. It was a 2022, 2021. I don't know. It was a Tundra. It was still a V8, so it was a V8 Tundra. We pulled it with no issues, and then I upgraded, got the F250. I had a black one before this one, and it was obviously no problem for that truck. Probably didn't even need the load leveling for that one, or the sway control, but I was just so nervous about sway. You should be concerned about sway, and you do want to control that. So I just kept using that load leveling hitch on the F250, and no issues. Well, fast forward, we decided to get this. So the hitch we had wasn't rated high enough for this trailer, or so they say. I think it was the RV dealership wanting to sell me a hitch. Yeah, I bought this one brand new, and we bought it from McLean RV in Oklahoma City. I'm not sure there's a good RV dealer out there anywhere. I wouldn't say that they were bad, but it's just, you know how it is. They're just certainly not in it for you. But we bought this, and they sold us a Blue Ox hitch. And if I can remember which one it was, I'll pop it up on the screen. We pull that, we load it up. We went straight from Oklahoma City to Austin, Texas, because we were doing a trip. When we picked this up, we drove to Wichita Falls that night, stayed the night, and then went on down to Austin. Well, I noticed that night it was pretty windy. This thing was really moving coming down I-44. It was moving. And in my head, I was thinking, I might have messed up. I think this camper's too long for this truck. I don't think this is going to work out good. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't saying it out loud because I just bought a camper. Spent a lot of money on a camper. So in my head, I was thinking I'm going to have to get a dually. Well, we go on down to Austin, and it got worse. The sway was crazy. I tightened up the chains. It has the The one I had, it went right here, and it had the chains that went, and then you use the breakover bar and you would tighten them down. It looked like it would work. It did not work at all. I mean, this thing was swaying like crazy. We get home. That was one trip. We get home. I did not want to pull this thing again. We did go on. I did one trip, and I was already looking for another hitch. We did go on a few more trips, but after that, I've got to pull the trigger on a better hitch. This is not working. I was convinced it was the hitch. So I started looking at all the hitches. I mean, there's YouTube's covered up. My lips are dry. YouTube's covered up with hitch videos, and I watched them all. I feel like I landed on the WaySafe. It was expensive, but it wasn't crazy expensive. So I really wanted the B&W hitch. I can't remember what they call it, but the B&W hitch is kind of what I was really wanting, but at that time you couldn't get it. They had just come out and you just couldn't get one. So I decided WaySafe. Gonna do WaySafe. Well, and also another drawback to the B&W I seen that it really brought your ground clearance down. It really brought right there. I was afraid I would scrape going in and out of parking lots and stuff. So went with WaySafe. It was a great hitch. I ordered it, and they told me the next day I got an email. They said, sorry, the heavy duty WaySafe is on back order. I was like, well, and they had no idea when they would get it. So I thought, okay. They did have the 2-inch receiver one, the one just below the heavy duty. So they said they would sell that to me at a discounted price since they didn't have it. I said, okay, let's get it. I need a hitch. I've got to get rid of this Blue Ox. It comes in. I put it together. It was easy to put together. It was really, I mean, the instructions were great. Everything was great. I slap it on. Immediately, no sway. I mean, very minimal. You're going to get sway when trucks pass. This is a 39-foot trailer. You're going to get some movement. It's not going to eliminate all of it, but it eliminated 98% of it. It was great. I was very impressed. Very happy with that hitch. But we went on a trip to Yellowstone. Went all the way up to Yellowstone and then came back and went through Durango, Colorado. And I just happened to notice in the hitch, there's a set screw that goes through the ball and holds the ball in place. I just noticed that screw was out. So I go over there and I look at it, and that screw had sheared off that was holding the ball on. We had just come through the Rocky Mountains and that screw sheared off. I thought, what in the world? How's that even possible? Well, I got to looking, and it's I guess kind of common because there's enough people out there just figured out how to get that broke off thread out. You just use a socket and it backs right out. So I backed that out, but at that point I'm dead in the water. I have no hitch. I had my extra B&W turnover or my stowaway hitch, so I slapped it on there, and I came home from Colorado, Durango, Colorado, with nothing. No load leveling, no sway control, nothing. I just drove careful, slow, and was pretty angry about the whole situation. So I reached out to them. They sent me several pins. They sent me several more and told me to check my hitch, my pin weight. Well, it has a little gauge on there, and it was high. I think it was, I can't remember. It was high, but it was within the parameters of the gauge. So I didn't think it was that. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe I didn't get the screw tight, and then it gave it some play. So I redid everything once I got the new pins, set it all back up. and it was good. No issues. Pulled a lot of places. And I thought, well, I probably just didn't get that screw tight. So fast forward a few months later, that thing started leaking oil. So inside the mechanism, inside the hitch itself, it has that gauge. There's you take the ball off, and there's a little piston in there that it has hydraulic fluid in there, and it gives you the weight, or brake fluid, whatever kind of fluid it uses. But it gives you the weight of your hitch. Well, the seal had got damaged somehow and started leaking. So I ordered parts for it, rebuilt it. A couple months later, did it again, started leaking. Built it one more time and started leaking again. And then another pin broke. I sheared off another pin. And I said, I'm done with the WaySafe hitch. It does work, but there's too many parts that can go wrong on the WaySafe hitch. I don't know if I was doing something wrong. I probably was, but I was just done with it. And about that time that I was completely fed up with it, I watched KYD YouTube channel, and Mark on there, they're pulling an Airstream, so it's different. It's not as long as this. It's a little more aerodynamic. But he's got airbags, and he just got rid of the WaySafe, or the sway control hitch altogether. He just got rid of it. And he just used the airbags for load leveling. So I thought, man, I'm not comfortable getting rid of the sway control, but there's got to be something out there that I can do. And I started really just diving in myself instead of just listening to reviews. Started doing a lot of my own research. Ended up getting airbags. So I'll show you that. I just did the Airlift 5000. I don't need that much assistance. This truck can handle much more than what this camper does weigh. But that is the airbags I put on. And then I ordered this bulletproof hitch. And it has the sway control arm, and it turns over. It has 2-inch and 2 5/16. I bought that to lock it down. I didn't know if I was making a mistake, but I got rid of the load leveling bars and all the load leveling stuff, and now I can hook up just like a normal trailer. There's no other than the sway bar. I did go ahead and buy the sway bar, and this sway bar, let me dig it out of here. I've got it. I'll show you where I've got it resting. I've just got it laying in there when we're at a campsite. I'd leave it on the ground, but I don't like my campsite to look trashy. So this right here, you can see how big it is. It's way bigger than any sway control bar that I've ever had on a hitch that you get with the load leveling and everything on it. This was a game changer. It's pretty much like the WaySafe hitch. I don't get sway unless it's crazy windy, or I have several trucks pass, and then it moves, but it's not bad. It just bolts on right here, and then it goes onto the hitch, and my load leveling is in my airbags. So that's what I went with. That was my solution. I think maybe for half-ton trucks, you're probably going to need load leveling hitches. I may be wrong. You might be able to do it without that. But for me and my F-250 and this load, it works great. And I've pulled it across the entire country multiple times. I've been to Florida, from Texas to Florida, from Texas to California and back, in the most windy conditions, storms. I've been in everything, and I've had 0 issues. So the load leveling hitches, I think, are overrated. But like I said, if you have a half ton, you might need them. Do your own homework on that. But for me, in my situation, even with a 39-foot trailer, works great. So I thought I'd do a little bit more diving into that, talking about that. Yesterday's video, I tried to do a video yesterday, but I was kind of rushed. Didn't really go into depth on some of it, so I won't even post that one. I'll post this one. But that's our setup.